Welcome to the Pit Check, your news report for the best new metal and hardcore albums released each week. This is a packed show. So many new albums and EPs came out this week, it was genuinely impossible to pick which ones to cover. Oh, my life is so hard, so much good music and not enough time to review it all. And speaking of EPs, that definitely seems to be the new meta lately. Each week, less and less full albums are coming out, and it's more of these like 3 to 5 song EPs. I'm sure it has to do with like streaming numbers and appeasing the algorithm and generally maintaining cultural relevance. I mean, it makes sense. 5 songs once or twice a year keeps your name in the conversation longer than like 10 songs every 2 years. It's not entirely relevant to today's episode and also not inherently like a bad thing, but definitely something I've noticed as this show has gone on and kind of interesting to keep in mind. Jesus, I cannot be getting distracted already. The episode just started. Anyways, you know the drill. Subscribe to the channel because we do this every week, and let's get right into this week's best new albums.
Long live the new flesh.
The UK death metal band Sylosis has released their 7th studio album, The New Flesh. Man, it feels so good to have just some good old thrashy death metal. This album is just riffs on riffs on riffs on riffs. Everything about this album is just so satisfying. Obviously, the guitars are going f***ing crazy, their drummer, Ali Richardson, is an absolute monster, and makes me feel like an idiot child as a drummer myself, and there has been non-stop improvement from vocalist Josh Middleton, showcasing catchy, lower octave clean vocals, as well as some gnarly new lows, which I have no idea how he's able to do while just shredding. This is a fantastic album and another step up in this new Josh Middleton post-Architects era for the band. And I hope this lineup can stay somewhat stable moving forward because this really felt like all the pieces here clicked right into place. I highly recommend this one to all old school and melodic death metal lovers. Nashville hardcore is insane. The Nashville-based hardcore band Bazookatooth has released their latest album, D.M.C.K. This album is straight up high adrenaline, thrashy, metallic mayhem. Not a single song on this album even reaches the 2.5-minute mark. This is like if a hardcore band had meth for instruments. I love this. The riffs are non-stop and violent as hell, the drummer is going crazy, and I have to give a special shout out to the bassist, who really helps solidify these underlying punk rhythms and grooves that are present throughout the entire album. And the relentless assault of these dueling back and forth vocalists really make it feel like you're surrounded by your sleep paralysis demons. As above, so below. The Australian progressive metalcore band Above Below has released their sophomore album, I Guess It Was Nowhere. This might be one of the best modern metalcore albums to be released in a long, long time. It's technical, it's proggy, it's emotional, it's creative, and it's heavy as shit. This is how you move a genre forward. Everything from the songwriting to the lyrics to the production to the sheer instrumental skill is absolutely S tier. They are not afraid to incorporate heavier deathcore adjacent like breakdowns and even blast beats, alongside heart-wrenching ballads and gorgeous groovy guitar work, and plenty of djenty, proggy doodly-doos. Sometimes I feel like it even incorporates some like Viljarta and the Contortionist vibes. And there's a lot here for fans of that like atmospheric metalcore sound like Imminence or Invent Animate, but keeping a great balance of tangibility and texture alongside the modern production, completely avoiding the overproduced auto-tuned snap to a grid sound. Thank God. I'm normally not into the more like modern sound, but this is seriously a non-stop buffet of everything you could possibly want from an album like this. Who the hell is Pace? The Richmond, Virginia-based hardcore punk metal band Killing Pace has released their latest album, HCPM. This is some straight beater-ass hardcore. It is so unapologetically abrasive and menacing and in your face. It feels like I should apologize to it. Jesus Christ, dude, chill out. I'm sorry. And I really dig their inclusion of plenty of these like old school metal and thrash riffs, alongside the more punishing and grindy power violence and crusty vibes, and non-stop world-ending devastation. There's also some sick features here from Scarab, Division of Mind, The Final Agony, and Brain Tourniquet, which I'm gonna need after this. And if you're a fan of any of those bands, or bands like Ingrown, Full of Hell, or Nails, this album needs to be in you. My big fat Greek Blackened Deathcore. The mainly Greek but also internationally based Blackened Deathcore band Phasma has released their latest EP, Purgatory. This is one of those blender bands that somehow manages to be influenced by and incorporate every single genre known to man. And despite this being their most stripped down and refined sound, this thing is still slamming like 6 different genres together. There's a ton of these hard-hitting death metal riffs, metric fucktons of black metal atmosphere and tremolo picking and raspy growls, with some absurdly brutal slam and deathcore breakdowns. The versatility and variety this band is able to achieve without sounding disjointed is truly something to behold. This is dark and nasty and menacing, and I love it.
Get up here in front of him.
Ow! The Pittsburgh horsecore band Kicked in the Head by a Horse has released their latest EP, Bloom Decay. If you love that batshit crazy 2000s chaotic hardcore and MySpace deathcore sound, this EP will be right up your alley. Or Stables? I'm a big fan of this sloppy, unhinged sound. The guitars are gritty and grimy and abrasive, and the drums aren't like programmed and snapped to a grid, and the vocals sound like the physical embodiment of your sanity decaying, all while managing to have some really interesting and dark melodies that bring like a creeping, driving method to the madness. Highly recommend to anyone that needs an audio-based manic episode. You'll be alright, walk it off. The Vancouver-based brutal death metal band Bayonet Dismemberment has released their latest EP, Skull Crushed by a Tank. Spotify says they're terror-inducing brutal death, and yeah, that tracks. With how absolutely crushing and punishing this EP is, it probably is pretty close to how it sounds to getting your skull crushed by a tank. Okay, but jokes aside, this is some damn fine brutal death metal. And unlike a lot of other BDM bands that just love their slams and gore, this band doesn't forget the actual death metal. The guitar work here is phenomenal, getting really creative and technical with how they perfectly merge 15 different riffs per song, along with pinch harmonics and face-melting solos. This is some top-tier craftsmanship that never forgets the brutality as well. Here's 3 EPs that'll break your teeth. Mercy Whip, Gehenna. This is some just devastating throwback metalcore and hardcore. Highly recommended for fans of On Broken Wings or Poison the Well. Stressed, A World from Ashes. This is some visceral Australian straight edge metallic hardcore, and good God, you're gonna need a neck brace for this one. Chained to the bottom of the ocean, let us not speak of them, but look and pass on. I mean, this band name alone kind of nails the actual sound better than I could. This thing is the nastiest, sludgiest, doomiest slice of the hellfire to walk this earth. This is an incredible EP, and before you complain that it's only 4 songs, remember this thing is 28 minutes long. And here is the entire list of all the new metal and hardcore albums that came out this week. There is so much good stuff we didn't even get to today. If you're into MySpace metalcore vibes, we had a split from Anvil Chandelier and A Year Ago Today. We also had a split from Echoes of Amara and Sincerely Yours. And we also had an EP from 7 Letters Never Sent. Good Tiger put out an album that is really sick if you're into very like prog vibes with a higher register vocalist. Mirror Cell also put out a pretty sick but wildly diverse album if you love that new metalcore sound, but with songs that sound like they came from completely different bands. And honestly, there is just so much here. Check out some of this if you have the chance. There's a lot of good stuff this week. And obviously, if you have a band that has an album coming out soon, please DM me on any of my social channels or in the comments below. I'd happily take a listen, and who knows, it might make it on an episode. And again, if you have any old merch that's just sitting around, send it my way. I'm happy to wear it on the show. Oh, and if you do send an album, try to send it to me like ahead of time. That way I can try and review it before release date. I don't like when things get like lost in the shuffle. You know what I mean? Anyways, love you guys. Be safe out there. Don't die in the pit. And I'll catch you next week for next week's best new albums.